Here we are again, folks. It's Brother Peter with tidbits from the Word. We are in Deuteronomy, and we're talking about beware America. Beware America. Now, I'm talking to the people in the very country where I live who have left God out. Now, if you are a Christian, if you have asked Jesus Christ to forgive you of your sin, save your soul, come into your heart, and deliver you from hell forever, that you may have heaven as your forever home, then you have to be aware that what's happening in this world today. The devil's a deceiver. He's out to deceive all whom he can. He has man now looking only for pleasure, but pleasure has a dead end. One day, pleasure has a dead end. Verse 32 in chapter 28 of Deuteronomy says this: Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people. We crossed that bridge in the last excerpt about how our sons and daughters today have gone out and they've gone the way of Balaam, or the way of the devil, and they are following dope and practices that are opposite of what God is. Verse 33 said, the fruit of our labor. That means our houses, our land, our cars, our boats, everything we own is going to be crushed away from us or taken away. And we will see another people, even from another country. Listen, the United States of America is fixing to be taken over one of these days, and not far from now, because we are collapsing from within. And verse 34 says, Thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. We're going to be mad for what we see. We're not going to be able to do anything about it. Verse 35, The Lord shall smite thee in the knees and in the legs with a sore botch that cannot be healed, from the sole of thy foot unto the top of thy head. I think we're seeing that today in some of the diseases we have in the world, and not just the world, but basically in the United States of America. The very thing AIDS has become, where it will smite the whole body of a man. In verse 36 it said, The Lord shall bring thee to thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation, neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shall be thou serve other gods, wood and stone. The other nations, one of the very nations that could take us over right now, if they chose to, by the end of the month, they could be in here like flies and move you out of your house into a tent somewhere, or just herd you out and take your house over, take your land over. And by the way, if they do come do that, the men will steal the wives. They will steal the daughters. They will steal the women of this country, and they will bring the women captive under their desires, and we won't have any ability to do anything about it. You say that can't happen in America, Brother Peter. Oh no, it sure can. Any place where other countries have taken over other countries. Just take a look back even in World War II, what the Germans did when they took a country over and they killed the men. They made the women slaves, most of them. Many, many, many atrocities across the world have been done by other countries, taking over other countries. And the women and children usually were kept alive and stole. The children were made servants, and the women were made slaves. Verse 37, and thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all the nations where the Lord shall lead thee. Listen to this. When another country does come and take over the United States of America and rule this country, American country, when they come and they take over and they rule this country, all the other nations in the world will be astonished. And it will be a proverb. America will be a byword. They say that place that used to be America is now, and it may be named some other country. It may be named China. It's not long now. It has already passed from other countries. Even India, we owe them more than 50% of our nation. Hey, when you own 55% of something, you own leadership. And our country has sold out to other countries because we've not followed God. We have followed the want for things and the want to direct our own self. Verse 38, thou shalt carry much seed unto the field, and shalt gather but little in, for the locust shall consume it. Verse 39, thou shalt plant a vineyard or a garden, and dress them, and have them ready, and shalt neither drink of the fruit, or gather in the grapes, for the worm shall eat them. Thou shalt have olive trees, or trees in your yard, fruit trees, say you live in Florida or California, throughout all the coast. But thou shalt not anoint thyself with the oil, for thine olives or have cast their fruit, or the oranges or the apples or whatever you raise will cast its fruit, or the cankerworms will come get your garden, or the locusts will fly by. You say in the United States of America? Yes, the United States of America. We have a locust called the Mormon locust. When the Mormons settled over there, and God said, I'm not happy with this. He sent a locust on the Mormons years ago and ate up their land where they were settled. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. We already are losing our children into the captivity of the world today, but we're going to lose them one of these days to another nation. All the trees and the fruit thereof the locust will consume. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He's saying here, when God comes against you, he's going to allow an enemy to come in. He's going to allow that enemy to be very high, and he's going to allow you to be very low. In verse 44, he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Let me tell you, when a godless country comes and takes over the United States of America, we're going to become the tail, and they are going to become the head. What happens to a tail? A tail gets wagged in the wind. A tail has, for the most part, no value. No value whatsoever. So remember, we need to draw back close to God. Perhaps, just perhaps, the Lord will come and take his children away before another country takes America over. If not, the first people that are going to leave America are going to be the Christians, and they're going to leave as martyrs. Because when a heathen country comes and takes over, they're not going to put up with you serving another God, the God of heaven, the only living and true God. They are going to want to become their God and the God that rules the country. And they're going to treat you as so. If you would just look, the little country of Japan, for instance, back during the war when they took prisoners, those prisoners were not treated with love and kindness. They were treated with disdain. They were treated wickedly, terribly. And that just goes to show us that a country much smaller than we, when they got a hold of us, took us and didn't care anything about, as far as the human life went, of sparing it. What they cared about was putting upon that human life all the rigors of the world that they could, and all of the punishment that they could. And so we see in our own very own day, we see the problems that lie in the world today from a godless country taking over this country. My friend, draw back close to the Lord, draw up close to God, and ask Him to deliver and spare this country. And perhaps He will do that if enough of us could get together. I must go now. We will see you next time. This is Brother Peter with Tidbits